All right, so today we are going to talk about functions in C++. Now, when we say or we talk about functions, functions are what? These are just a block of code that is going to, perform a specific task. That means function is nothing different from the code. It is just a few lines of code that is a specific function which is being performed by the code, and this is used only when we are going to use that particular block of code again and again, right? Example, if I say we have a bank and in which we do the transaction, we can do the withdrawal, we can deposit, we can do the transaction from our account to some other account, right? So there is, that is when we are doing this particular thing online, that particular specific withdrawal purpose must have there, which is running a code to perform that particular withdrawal concept, right? So there are thousands of users for the bank who are going to withdraw a particular amount from their account. Now when this particular, let's say this particular code is running for thousands of code, we are not going to write again and again this particular code, right? What we are going to use, we are going to make a function of this particular task, let's say withdrawal, and we are going to call this function in the main program again and again. What does it do? It can reduce the efforts and time in writing that particular code, and it will reduce the total number of code line also, because what we are doing, we are using a specific block of code that is performing a specific function. Example, we talk about the withdrawal of money or transacting a money from one account to other account, and it can be done any number of times. It is not going to write again and again, but it is just going to call this particular function in the main program, right? So that is the concept of functions, you all know. Now the same concept is used in C++ also. This is nothing different in C++. Now what we have to do with the function, we need to define the function, right? We need to define the function and function body, and every time function should have a return type. Up till now we have done so many programs and in which we are going to write again and again main, right? And we are using braces. What is that? In the earlier section also I told you that this main is what? This is a function and it should have a return type. So we always return a value for that particular concept, right? So we are going to use the same concept in these functions also. We are going to talk about the user defined functions now. Functions with return type, the functions which has the return type not as void, need to return a value at the end. That means if I'm writing any function with the void, any function name with the void, that means I do not need to return a value at the end of the function. But if I'm not using the return type void, then obviously I have to return a value, right? That is going to be done in the functions. Now see, let's take an example and let's see how the function code is written. See, this is same as we talk about include IO stream. We all know what is this, using namespace std. Now here what we are going to do, we are going to work on with the function. We are going to work on with the function. Here we are starting up with the function. First of all, we have to give the type of function, right? That is integer. This is the type of function that we are going to use. And add is what? Add is the name of the function. Okay. So in this, integer is the type, return type, and add is what? Add is the name of the function we have given. In this, we have taken two parameters. What are these two parameters? This is x and y, which has again the data type as integer and integer. Now what we are going to give? Return x plus y semicolon. We all know that we are going to use semicolon in the syntax for C++ programming also. We are going to close the braces. This braces is starting from here and this is closing this braces. So this is just a small function I have created. Now we are going to start off with the main program. Int main, we are going to give the braces, brackets, cout is used for printing, this sign, add is what? Add is the function 3 comma 4 and semicolon. Then return 0. Why return 0? Because we are not using the void in the function. If we are going to use the void, then we are not going to return any value. But if we are not using void, we are going to return the value. So this will return 0 semicolon and close. So what is this doing here? We are going to call this particular function, that is the add function, and it is going to give you the value. Let's see how it goes here. See, this is the program we have put in console using namespace std hash include iostream integer add int x comma int y return x plus y int main braces then curly braces cout add. Now here we have given, when we have already given the parameters x and y, I'm going to give the values out here. Let's say I've given 100 and 30, and then I'm going to return 0 and close the braces. What output will I get? It is going to run, it is going to call this function and execute this particular function. So it will give you return x plus y. So for me, x is 100 and y is 30. So it will give 100 plus 30. That means what value will be given out? It will be cout will be 130. Right? Why it is being done so? Because this add 130 is taken up to get executed these particular lines of code of the function add. Okay, so this is how it works. This is a basic thing or basic program where we have to remember that we are always going to define the function in before the main program, after the include and before the main program, and we are going to call the function in the main program. So this is the concept of functions out here. Now, basically, we have to understand this is the next concept in C++ only, that is called as function overloading. Now, what is this function overloading? Function overloading is the process of having two or more functions with the same name, but different function definitions. I've already told you about this in the earlier lectures. I don't know you remember this or not. If you want to see, you can just move to that particular lecture, but I'm going to explain you here also. That is, function overloading is the process whenever we are having two or more functions with the same name, but it has different parameters, different data types, right? So how does it how does it work? It is the return type of parameters, or the number of parameters which the function takes must be different for function overloading to happen. See, when we are writing a small code, we do remember that we have defined a function with the same name, so we can change the name. But when we have, or when we are writing the thousands and 10,000s line of code, we do not remember that we have defined a function with the same name. This particular same name function can be executed and can be worked, but the only thing is it should have either a different return type, either the type of parameters used should be different, or the number of parameters should be different. So then only we can use that particular function with the same name, and this process is called as function overloading. Let's take an example. See, we have the same function, that is add function. Here we have taken the add function with the integer return type and the two parameters, integer x and integer y, and it is using addition only, that is return x plus y. Here we have taken the different data type, that is the return type is double. So double add, double x, double y, where double means what? Double means the values or the parameters given are will be float, and here these are integer. Okay. So again, in this, what is being executed? Return x plus y. Now, when we are calling this particular functions in integer in main program, what will happen if I am going to write add 10.0, 11.5? What does this mean? Because 10.0 and 11.5 are the float values. So that means I'm calling which function? I'm calling the double add function. It is clear to the compiler. And when I am writing add 10 comma 20, so that means these 10 and 20 are the integer values, right? So x and y here are integers, so that is why I am calling which program? I am calling this particular function. So it is clear to the compiler that which function I am calling. This is called as function overloading. Though the two functions are of same name, but they are using different parameters or different return type, or maybe different number of parameters, then even then there will be no problem. So this is called as function overloading, and this is a very important concept in the C++. So I hope I'm clear what is function overloading. Now let's see how does the function overloading program works. We have same way, that is I can define it here only. See, include IO stream. I have defined the function here as integer add. This is one function, int add, int x, int y. And I'm going to write return x plus y, semicolon, and curly braces. This is the first function with the name add, but it has a different data type, that is integer. Okay, now I'm going to declare the second function, that is called as the double add, double x comma double y. Here I'm using two parameters only. Earlier also I'm using two parameters. Return x plus y. So double add, double x, double y, return x plus y. This is the curly braces, that is closing off here the next function. Now I'm going to call this particular functions in the main program. So int main, I'm going to use int main. Always remember, we have to define the functions where in the before the main program actually, right? So we are going to here write the cout, add integer. This is the sign we are going to use for printout. So add 100 comma 30. So 100 comma 30, when I'm going to write, it is clear that I'm going to call the first function. Okay, and when it is defining add double, it will give you add double, add 3.12 and 8.32. It is going to execute this particular function and then return 0 and so what output I'll get in the first add int I'll get what? 100 plus 30, that is 130, and I have add, I'm using short form, double, that is D. I'll get what? 3.2 plus 8.32, that is 4 point 11.44. So this is what I'm going to get, right? So this is how the function overloading defines. That means the functions can be of same name, but it should have different return value or the different data